Hi there, Jim Brown here. Welcome to my website. Glad you're looking things over. Thought I'd share a few thoughts with you. I usually post some cartoons, something kind of funny, but I thought I'd talk a little bit about 2025. Hope you had a happy new year, and I hope you're getting ready for the new year. I've written several columns about the new year, making resolutions. I always make resolutions. I hope you do too. Maybe you keep them, maybe you don't. But I think it's a time to kick off a fresh beginning. I'm trying to do so in my personal life. I'm 84 years old, taking stock of where I've come from, what I still hope to do in the years I have left, kind of trying to get a little straight with the good Lord in terms of my religious convictions. Politics, I'm not in the flow quite as much. A lot of you who watch this show regularly, by the way, this is a good beginning. Go back out to listeners all over the country. For a number of years, I did a nationally syndicated radio program on over 300 stations in America. As I got older, I decided to kind of slow it down. It's pretty tough. Sometimes I do shows 3 times a day, all week long, down out of New Orleans. And it was a lot of wear and tear and preparation. It wasn't the show itself, it's the preparation. Well, for this New Year's message, I've got a lot of the stations that want to hear from me. So, Happy New Year, and my best wishes to all you folks listening all over the country right now as I do this podcast and this YouTube webinar right here. The Lisbon Press has had a good year. We've got a lot of books in the making right now, new books that I'm not going to reveal, but tell you that we're going to have a really big year in 2025 with some very prominent people issuing their biographies or autobiographies. And we're doing some children's books now, something I never did before. We've got some children's books up on our website. Go to the left of this site, you'll see a link to the Lisbon Press you can hit and come on and check out some of those various books that we have published. Let's talk about 2025. A lot of my friends are just worried to death because Donald Trump is president. Oh my gosh, let's move to Canada. We've heard all these things. What I really thought was strange, and I may be understandable, but a little over the top. A lot of the colleges, particularly the East Coast Ivy colleges, I read where they had after the election, they had a kind of just a revision, a terrible tragedy in their lives. They felt some colleges were giving, let's see, milk, cookies, coloring books, Legos, reflection spaces, distress sessions for young adults struggling with the election results. Hey, folks, get over it. Trump was elected, 12 years ago, and we muddled through the 4 years. We seem to do okay. The economy is going well, and there'll be a lot of things I disagree with our new incoming president. But there's some challenges I'd make to him too in terms of what we ought to be doing. Some who think Trump is over the top. You got to remember we've got 3 branches of government. Joe Biden, the outgoing president, appointed, I think, 250 new federal judges. Well, if someone feels like what Trump is doing is over the top, crossing the line, there's all kinds of groups right now forming to file lawsuits to challenge what may happen. California has a large group of lawyers, I know. New York does too. And as Trump puts into practice immigration procedures or things that they think are wrong, there'll be lawsuits, and all this will go on for years and years. So nothing's going to happen dramatically, in my opinion. It's going to be something that some people disagree with. A lot of my friends down here in the South, Trump carried Louisiana, think that it'll be for the good. So there'll be a balance, and I'll certainly be talking about it on this show. Trump, the new president, is going to have his hands full with the Middle East. With Syria falling, Israel moving into Syria to some degree, Israel being fairly successful in challenging Hezbollah. Hopefully, this Hamas prisoner situation will come to an end, or what prisoners are still alive. I'm not sure how many are still alive will come home. And so there is some calm in the Middle East, perhaps, but the American influence is not going to be nearly as much. Maybe that's good. I mean, do we want to be the world's peacekeeper? After World War II, we certainly did. There was a huge void, and America needed to do that. But then we stumbled into South Korea. We stumbled in Vietnam. We stumbled terribly in Iraq. So we haven't been very good of implementing our role as America's peacekeepers. So maybe bringing other countries in to help with a balancing and a kind of toning down all of the controversy may be a good thing. Uh, I hope so, because we've spent hundreds of trillions of dollars in this effort and don't have a lot to show for it as we look into the year 2025. We certainly got a lot of other needs for that money. Uh, Crime is a huge issue in my state and all over the country. And I'll tell you, we can give stronger sentences, and I believe in strong sentences for paying for the crime one did. Uh, you can institute more of the death penalty, but it's all comes down to going back to the root cause of these kids being out of control and the educational system being a failure throughout the country. Uh, it's not the big thugs who are 30 years old with the machine guns. It's the 14-year-old kids, women, young girls involved in hijackings in terms of holdups, in terms of so much of the crime. We've got to get a hold of these kids at a much younger age. To do so, you can do several things. First of all, you got to pay your teachers a lot more money. You've got to attract really talented teachers who take these kids under wing. You've got to have a cadre of assistant teachers, if you will, who will go into the homes and visit with the parents. That's done in some of the more progressive schools in this country. The Success Academy up in New York, I have a daughter who's been very involved in that system of charter schools. There's a number of schools, and one of the first things the teachers do is go into the homes and see what kind of a home life is there and try to evaluate whether the parents are really going to take a grip and get their kids to school on time. So many kids don't even go to school anymore. They just, the absentee rate is just tremendous. The mentors, I think, are important. There are hundreds of thousands, millions of retired or older citizens who ought to volunteer to help. And if asked, would do so. If you're a retired engineer, you come back in and help with physics and math in these schools. Do some tutoring in these schools. If you're just the average person like many of us, like I am, you mentor kids by reading to them. I've got a dear friend here in Baton Rouge that does Dateline Louisiana podcast with me, Ronna Gray, here on this site. You'll see that podcast. She mentors young kids, and she says it's just amazing. Initially, the kids she was mentoring didn't want to read at all. She finally brought him around. He said there were no books at home. His one parent never read to him. And so he didn't have this experience that you could be getting in the schools. I think the churches could play a significant role. You've got these empty churches all week long. You've got the recreation halls in a lot of these churches throughout our communities that could be good after school locations for daycare nurseries. So mama is working, then or dad's working, and instead of the kid coming home to an empty house and watching TV, let them continue their tutoring, and you'd pay the churches to put on a program like this. Oh my gosh, you can't mix religion and public issues. Heck, you can't when you have a need like this. Churches could serve a huge purpose in offering daycare, particularly in some of the troubled neighborhoods that these kids could come to after school. If they're on the bus drops them off right there. Then their parents pick them up at a later time. You pay the church some money. Well, we're paying a lot more in crime and in public programs. We ought to have programs like this on weekends, tutoring on weekends. It all costs money. So you and I have to decide, do we want to pay for these programs, possibly increase taxes, look at other priorities instead of spending billions and billions of dollars in Afghanistan that was thrown away, that could have been directed into public education. On the state level, the local level, we've got to decide if those programs are important enough for us. And I think we should. And I think it will make a big, big difference. Got to pay teachers a lot more money. A teacher ought to be making $80,000 a year. Some average teachers are making 45 and 50. There's just not an attraction there to those teachers. So it's going to be a challenging year in 2025 on the local level, on the state level, and on the national level. I was in public life for 26 years. I enjoyed my time in public life. So it's time to turn it over to a new generation. I wish our new president well, the Congress well, and all of our public officials well as they get involved in this very challenging time. Hey, glad you watched the program. I'll be giving you updates regularly here. I hope you'll read my new column. This week I wrote about, I think, Greenland, the president of Greenland. You'll have a little amusing effort to look over that column. Have a good 2025. Happy New Year. We'll see you back here at the Lisburn Press and on the Jim Brown website soon. Take care.